Hey, what up people, I'm Emosebo, thanks for watching the video. So if you read The Flash number 22, you saw Barry Allen talk about Hypertime. He mentioned it in that comic, and many people were like, what is Hypertime? And some were like, oh cool, Hypertime was mentioned. Well, if you don't know what Hypertime is, I will be explaining it in this video. So Hypertime is a variation on the multiverse concept. Think of it as a network or a web of alternate timelines from the DC universe. If you have seen the Spider-Verse in Marvel, this is kind of similar to that. Characters from one timeline can cross into another timeline. So Hypertime was the greatest secret in all creation, right? This is according to Hunter. The possibilities of Hypertime are infinite, almost nearly omnipotent power. So how does it work? Okay, from the central timeline, events of importance branch off and create new realities or histories. Sometimes they feed back into the central timeline and overlap, creating new stories. For example, a character that was forgotten could return. History can be misremembered or reinvented, like the return of Wally West to the current continuity, but that's a different story. Of course, there are hazards to Hypertime. Objects, artifacts, whatever, carried into different hypertimelines can break down the barriers between worlds and cause a mess. And I think the biggest problem with the concept of Hypertime is what makes it cool at the same time. Nothing is real, everything is fictional. Of course, comics are fiction, but when you know a story is not real, when you know there's almost like no consequences, no effects, the comic book doesn't affect you. Grant Morrison wrote a bunch of stuff with Hypertime, and readers just didn't like it because you have to accept it's all fake from the start. I mean, there was a point where we had two Black Canaries and two Wonder Women. Wonder Woman's mom filled in for Black Canary in Justice Society, and Black Canary's daughter filled in for Wonder Woman in the Justice League. I mean, there were a lot of confusing as fuck things in those stories. And the whole thing with the Dark Flash from Mark Waid, Brian Augustine, and Paul Pelletier. We got Walter West. He failed to save Linda Park in his story Terminal Velocity. Check out that story from The Flash, it's really cool. She died and we got a Dark Flash. So I mean, there were some cool stories, but most of Hypertime was really confusing for readers. It did create a bigger picture, but it mixed a lot of continuity, lore, history, all of it. That's why it ran only for 6 years and then stopped being used until Barry Allen mentioned it in the Button finale. So I want to know if they're going to bring it back. Are they going to be using Hypertime again? Maybe something to do with Rebirth and Watchmen, I don't know. It'll be pretty cool if it comes back, if they know how to handle it. But yeah, really quick video just explaining what Hypertime is. So too long, didn't read. It's a web of different realities that you can access and jump from one timeline to another. Simple, right? Guys, thanks so much for watching the video. I am Emosebo. If you enjoyed, please click the like button and share the video with some friends that need to know what Hypertime is. And of course, I'll see you in the next one.